and I got a couple of charts. I like pictures and charts, so I'm always trying to make a chart out of something. But just looking at the lineage from Noah and his 3 sons, and I really focused on Ham, and you'll see why in a few minutes. He had an awful lot of very interesting offspring. So that's kind of the biblical thing right here. But I started to break down the dominant family trees of the gods with the Sumerian Babylonians down here, the Egyptians up here, and the Greeks. Most of us are familiar with the Greek pantheon, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the scriptures themselves talk about there were giants in the land in those days and also afterwards, right? So I made a little chart again. I got a little 6-foot guy, average guy. I'm about almost 6 feet tall, so it's about me. Then you got what I call the Goliath class. Goliath was, depending on who you read, between 9 and 12 feet tall. Og of Bashan, roughly between 15 feet and 18 feet tall. These are 2 characters mentioned by name in Scripture. And then you got the Amorites and the Canaanite giants. And the Amorites are really interesting because the Bible describes the Amorites very similar to Behemoth. When he, in Amos 2:9 there, he talks about the Amorites who are as tall as cedar trees. I don't think God is in the habit of just telling tall tales and exaggerating. I think, see, the guy standing right next to a cedar tree, look, they're the same height. A cedar tree starts at 35 feet and goes as high as 150 feet, the cedars of Lebanon. So, the Amorites, biblically speaking, if I'm to take the scriptures literally, are anywhere from 35 feet to, there's a foot for a 150-footer. And in the post-flood scenario, God himself wipes out the Amorites. You'll see that God wipes them out personally. But then afterwards, you see Joshua and Caleb, a couple 80-year-old guys, and then later you see a little shepherd boy taking these guys out. But you also see a steady decrease in size as you go from the flood forward. Something's going on there, and I'll talk more about that in the other teaching, the Mount Hermon-Roswell connection. Now, in the post-flood scenario, when they sent the first mention of the post-flood giants is when the Israelites, after the Exodus, the time in the wilderness, they send the spies into the land there. They come back with a report, and it says, and they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. They said, the land we explored devours those living in it. How much does it take calorie-wise to feed a 6-foot person? Let's say a 200-pound 6-footer. 2,000 calories? How much do you think it takes to feed an Amorite? Kind of explains why the grapes are so big, huh? Take 2 men to carry a cluster of grapes on a pole. The land devours itself and everything living on it. Yeah, you got to keep up with the metabolic rate of a 100-footer. All the people we saw there are of great size. Yep. We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. Do you see any mention of an angel there? No, it says the giants came from Nephilim. Nephilim produced Nephilim. Talk about that in the next teaching as well. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. Yeah, I can see that. There's the scripture I referred to earlier, Amos 2:9. Yet I destroyed the Amorites, who were descendants of Canaan, by the way, before them, though they were as tall as cedars and strong as the oaks. Let's look at the lineage of the sons of Noah. You got, of course, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Not necessarily in that order. I focused on Ham because the Bible focuses on Ham and his 4 children. Canaan, Mitzrayim, Put, and Cush. What's really interesting when you start looking at those 4 characters is you start seeing giants like crazy popping up inside that lineage, especially the Canaanites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, all the ites that Joshua and his boys had to wipe out.